Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Chapter 1. Oliver Twist's Birth and Growth. One day a boy was born in a small workhouse whose name is prefixed to the head of his chapter. For a long time it was doubtful whether the boy would survive to be any named at all. The thing is, the baby found it difficult to breathe. It lay on the mattress, waiting silently between this world and the other. There was nobody nearby but a poor old woman and a simple doctor. Oliver and nature both won fight. The result was that Oliver breathed and cried loudly on the mattress. A pale young woman rose weakly from the pillow and asked the doctor to show her newborn baby to her. The doctor gave it to her arms. She kissed its forehead with her white lips, looked at it happily, and then died. The doctor took the baby and put it back to the mattress. "Who was his mother?" asked the doctor. "I brought her here last night," answered the old woman. She had walked some distance. Her shoes were worn to pieces. Nobody knows where she came from or where she was going. I understand. Please look after the child and feed him with milk. Goodbye." That was all the doctor said, walking out of the room. The old woman sat down by the fire and began to dress the baby. She wrapped it in the old fabrics, which had become yellow within. Thus he held his place within society, the orphan of the workhouse. The baby was called Oliver Twist. Oliver cried loudly. If he could have known that he was an orphan, perhaps he would cry even louder. The next day Oliver Twist was sent to another house, in which many orphans lived under the control of an old greedy woman. She knew what was good for children, and she had a very good idea of what was good to her, so she spent the greater part of the money. The money was sent to her every week by the authorities to her own use. That is why Oliver tried to live on the smallest possible portion of food very desperately. He was the victim of systematic treachery. There is more. He was brought up mostly by hand. The greedy woman, Mrs. Ann, beat Oliver and other orphans very often, considering her beating a very important part of education. Of course, this system of education would never produce any extraordinary group. Oliver Twist was a very thin and pale child. He is 9 years old, but he had a strong spirit in his breast, which grew stronger day by day despite Mrs. Ann's strict diet. One day Mr. Bumble visited Mr. Man in her orphan house. Mr. Bumble was a government official who took care of the orphans. Of all orphans in the workhouse, says Mr. Man greeted him kindly at the gate and led him into the house. As they entered the house, she put a chair for him to sit on and looked at him attentively. Oliver Twist is 9 years old already, said Mr. Bumble. We could not discover his parents anyway. Oliver's too old to remain here. I came here to take him and bring him back to the workhouse. Mrs. Mann left the room to bring Oliver at once. Soon Oliver stood before Mr. Bumble, all confused and scared, but then the news of his immediate departure made him the happiest boy in the world. He did not feel great regret at going away. Thus Oliver left the miserable orphan house, where even one kind word had never been said to him. He followed Mr. Bumble as quickly as he could. They reached the workhouse after 1 hour. Mr. Bumble led him to the room where a fat man was sitting at his table with serious face. Oliver did not like this fat man. Mr. Bumble gave him a tap behind, which made him cry at once. "Why are you crying?" asked the fat man. "I knew you are an orphan. I hope you pray for the people who feed you and take care of you. Well, you have come here to be educated and taught a useful trade. You will live in this workhouse till we find some work for you." That is the end of part one. Thank you.